Failure. The very word makes people flinch. It carries the sting of rejection, the weight of humiliation, the echo of dreams that didn't materialize when we thought they would. But here is the truth. Failure is not the end of the road. It is the toll you must pay to travel the highway of greatness. Every empire, every fortune, every masterpiece was purchased with the currency of failure. Without it, you cannot rise, because failure is not your enemy. It is your most honest teacher. Think of Thomas Edison, a man who was told by his teachers he was too stupid to learn anything. He set out to invent the electric light bulb, and in the process he failed not once, not 100 times, but more than 10,000 times. 10,000 reminders that he had not yet succeeded. And when asked how he endured such relentless defeat, Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that will not work." That is the voice of a man who understood the true role of failure. Without it, the darkness of the world would never have been lifted by light. Failure is the crucible where greatness is forged. It strips you bare of illusions and excuses. It demands you face your weakness, your ignorance, your unpreparedness. It burns away arrogance and replaces it with wisdom. And though it feels like punishment, it is in truth the only way you grow strong enough to carry the weight of success. For success is heavy. It requires shoulders trained by the burdens of defeat. Most people never understand this. They flee from failure, avoid risks, play it safe. They think the purpose of life is to remain comfortable, unbruised, untouched by disappointment. But comfort is a silent prison, keeps you small, ordinary, invisible. And the one who never dares to fail never dares to live. Abraham Lincoln knew this. Before he became the president who would hold a broken nation together, he faced failure after failure. He lost elections, lost his business, lost the woman he loved, and battled crippling depression. By the standards of the world, he was a failure long before he was a leader. Yet those defeats were not wasted. They were chisels that shaped his character into steel. When the weight of the Civil War pressed upon his shoulders, it was not victory that prepared him to endure. It was his failures. The truth is this: failure is a mirror. It reflects your current self with brutal honesty. It shows you exactly where you are weak, exactly what you lack, exactly what must change. And while most turn away in shame, the wise look deeper. They see failure not as an indictment of their worth, but as an invitation to transform. The world is filled with people who quit after the first setback. But the few who learn to embrace failure, to study it, to harvest its lessons, they become unstoppable. They become creators of wealth, builders of nations, leaders of movements. For what is Henry Ford's story if not a litany of failures? Before he built the automobile empire that would revolutionize industry, Ford's first two car companies collapsed. He was mocked, ridiculed, and told the automobile was a toy for the rich. But he learned from every collapse, refined his vision, and refused to quit. The failures were necessary. They sharpened him into the man who would put the world on wheels. Do you see it now? Failure is not a wall. It is a doorway. It is the gate you must pass through to reach your destiny. Without it, there is no wisdom, no resilience, no greatness. And the reason so few rise to the heights they dream of is because so few are willing to pay the price. They want success on credit, without down payment, without sacrifice. But the universe does not work that way. Success demands you first endure failure. Success demands proof of your commitment. So the next time you fail, and you will, do not curse it. Do not run from it. Instead, lean into it. Ask, what is this here to teach me? What weakness must I confront? What skill must I develop? What truth must I accept? Every failure carries within it a seed of equal or greater opportunity, but only for the one who is willing to dig into the soil of defeat and plant again. Because failure, when embraced, is not the end. It is the beginning. It is life's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Failure asks you to rise again, but not as the same person who fell. It demands that you return sharper, wiser, more disciplined. Discipline, this is where most falter. Failure without discipline becomes a cycle of repeated mistakes. But failure with discipline becomes transformation. Consider Walt Disney. His first studio went bankrupt. He was fired from a newspaper because his editor said he lacked imagination. Imagine that, the man who would create worlds of wonder told he had no imagination. He could have accepted that judgment. He could have retreated into bitterness. But he chose discipline. He studied, he refined his craft, he persevered. And when the opportunity came again, he was prepared to turn rejection into an empire. Without the sting of failure, there would have been no Disneyland, no Mickey Mouse, no legacy of magic. Failure is only fatal to those who refuse to learn. To the disciplined, it becomes a map. It shows you where not to go, what not to repeat, what must be strengthened. And when you obey its lessons, you grow. But here's the challenge. Failure will try to break your spirit before it builds your strength. It whispers lies in your ear. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. It will never work. That voice is not truth, it is resistance. It is the enemy guarding the treasure. Every hero must confront it. And the only weapon that silences it is resilience. Resilience is the power to rise when logic says you should stay down. It is the stubborn refusal to accept defeat as permanent. History remembers resilient men and women not because they never failed, but because they refused to stop failing until they succeeded. Look at Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man who would one day found Kentucky Fried Chicken. At 65 years old, broke and desperate, he took his fried chicken recipe on the road. He was rejected over 1,000 times before one restaurant finally agreed to serve it. Over 1,000 failures. But his resilience turned rejection into recognition, and recognition into a global brand. Resilience is the muscle built by failure. Each rejection is a weight you lift. Each defeat is resistance that strengthens your will. And when you learn to love the process of standing back up, nothing in this world can hold you down. Still, failure demands something more than resilience. It demands adaptability, the ability to shift, to evolve, to change strategy without changing purpose. Too many cling to their first plan as though it were sacred, even when it's clear that it's broken. But the wise understand. The goal remains, but the path must often be rewritten. Think of Charles Darwin. His theory of evolution revealed the great secret of survival. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the most adaptable thrive. The same is true for you. Failure forces you to adapt, to release what no longer works, to invent, to pivot, to grow into someone new. Without failure, you would remain fixed in your old patterns, chained to outdated methods. And so, failure is not your enemy. It is your evolution. It refines your mind, strengthens your discipline, builds your resilience, and awakens your adaptability. Without it, you are fragile. With it, you become unbreakable. The ones who rise to greatness are not those who avoid failure, but those who use it as raw material. Like an alchemist, they turn defeat into wisdom, rejection into fuel, setbacks into stepping stones. They are forged, not in the ease of comfort, but in the fire of trial. So the question is not whether you will fail, you will. The question is, will you let failure define you, or will you let it refine you? Failure is the hammer that strikes away the unnecessary, leaving only the essential. When the noise of illusion falls silent, you are left with clarity. Clarity of vision, clarity of purpose, clarity of who you truly are and what you truly desire. Most people never achieve this clarity because they live shielded from failure, wrapped in false comfort. But failure shatters illusions. It forces you to confront the raw truth. What do I really want? What am I willing to endure for it? Clarity is born when you no longer chase everything, but instead commit to the one thing that sets your soul on fire. Think of Andrew Carnegie, who came to America as a poor Scottish immigrant, working long hours in a factory for pennies a day. He faced hardship, rejection, endless obstacles. Yet every failure clarified his vision, to build an empire of steel. That clarity, sharpened by failure, guided every decision. And when a man knows exactly what he seeks, the universe begins to yield its secrets to him. But clarity alone is not enough. It must be fueled by belief. Failure will test this belief. It will ask you, again and again, Do you truly trust yourself? Do you trust your vision when the evidence says you are losing? Will you keep moving forward when there is no applause, no validation, no visible reward? The truth is this: belief is easy when life is kind. But real belief is forged when failure surrounds you, when doors slam in your face, when your dream seems impossible. That is when you must decide if your vision is just a wish or if it is destiny. Napoleon Hill himself declared it: "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But most forget the middle step. They can conceive it, yes, but when failure strikes, they lose belief. And without belief, the vision dies. Yet the few who hold belief like a torch in the darkest night, the few who refuse to let failure convince them otherwise, those are the men and women who shift the course of history. Henry Ford believed he could build an automobile for the common man, long after others dismissed the idea as madness. Walt Disney believed in his magic kingdom when banks laughed him out of their offices. Edison believed in his light even when surrounded by failure stacked higher than mountains. Belief is the soil in which persistence takes root. And persistence is the true test. For success rarely comes to the one who tries once or twice. Success belongs to the one who refuses to surrender, who rises again and again, who persists beyond reason. Look at any towering achievement and you will find persistence at its foundation. The Wright brothers were told man could not fly, that it was against the laws of nature. They failed, crashed, stumbled, but they persisted. And because of that persistence, humanity touched the sky. Failure without persistence is defeat. Failure with persistence is progress. Every setback is simply another step forward in disguise, another necessary mile on the journey. The weak see failure as a dead end. The persistent see it as a detour. And they keep walking because they know the path may twist, but the destination remains. Understand this: success does not go to the most talented, the most gifted, or even the most intelligent. Success goes to the most persistent. Talent fades when tested by failure. Intelligence folds when beaten by disappointment. But persistence, born from belief, fueled by clarity, carved by failure, that is unstoppable. So when failure visits you, and it will, welcome it as the messenger that it is. Let it clarify your vision. Let it test and prove your belief. Let it train your persistence. Because the truth is, every great story of triumph is written with the ink of failure. And if you are willing to keep writing, your story too will echo in the halls of greatness. Failure is not only a teacher of skills and strategies, it is the awakener of purpose. For when you stumble, when the ground beneath you collapses, you begin to ask questions you never asked in times of ease. Why am I here? What is the meaning of this struggle? What am I truly meant to do with my life? Purpose is rarely found in comfort. It is unearthed in the rubble of collapsed plans. It emerges when everything else is stripped away and you are left only with what truly matters. Look at Helen Keller, born into a world of silence and darkness. By every measure, she was destined for a life of limitation. But from her failure to communicate, she discovered a greater purpose: to prove that the human spirit could triumph beyond all obstacles. Her life became a beacon of possibility, not in spite of her failures, but because of them. Failure is the chiseling hand of destiny, carving away the superficial until only your true purpose remains. And once you find it, failure loses its sting, because every setback becomes another step on the path of something greater than yourself. Yet purpose alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by gratitude. Gratitude for the very failures that once made you curse the heavens. Gratitude for the closed doors that redirected your path. Gratitude for the betrayals, the losses, the disappointments, for they did not destroy you, they designed you. Think of it. The most successful people do not look back on their failures with bitterness, but with reverence. They understand that without the heartbreak, the rejection, the humiliation, they would not have developed the wisdom or strength that success demands. Gratitude turns failure from a wound into a weapon, from a burden into a blessing. And when you carry both purpose and gratitude, you discover the ultimate secret. Failure was never against you. It was for you. Every setback was an ally disguised as an enemy. Every defeat was a hidden gift. Every collapse was preparation for a greater rise. The story of your life is not meant to be written in the ink of perfection. It is meant to be written in the ink of resilience. The cracks in your journey are not scars of shame. They are the proof that you were tested and that you endured. They are the evidence that you did not settle for an easy existence, but reached for something greater. Understand this: success without failure is counterfeit. It is shallow, fragile, unsustainable. But success that is built upon failure is unshakable, eternal, true. Because it is not just about what you gain, it is about who you become. And in the end, that is the greatest reward of failure. Transforms you. It hardens your will, sharpens your vision, deepens your gratitude, elevates your purpose. It turns ordinary men and women into giants. So when you fail, and you will, stand tall. Breathe deep. Look failure in the eyes and thank it. For it has come not to destroy you, but to prepare you. It has come not to deny you, but to refine you. It has come not to end your story, but to shape it into one worth remembering. This is why failure is important in life. Not because it humbles you, but because it awakens you. Not because it defeats you, but because it rebuilds you. Not because it closes doors, but because it forces you to find the doors meant only for you. So rise from failure. Rise with discipline. Rise with resilience. Rise with clarity, belief, persistence, purpose, and gratitude. Rise until your scars become your strength, until your failures become your foundation, until your story becomes the proof that nothing, no rejection, no defeat, no setback, can stop a human being who refuses to quit. Because in the end, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is success in progress.